Hey guys, in this video we're going to start on protected routes, meaning that we want to have routes that only users that are logged in can access, such as the dashboard. We obviously don't want a guest to be able to access /dashboard. So with React, it's kind of difficult compared to some full frameworks like Angular, where you can easily create a guard and implement it pretty easily with the default framework. With React, it's a little more difficult. There's no default way to do this with React Router 4. What we're going to do, the solution that I seem to find the most, is to create an actual component for your private routes, and then kind of put your actual route in that component with some additional logic. And this is a really good article. This is tylermcginnis.com, and you can see the URL here. And it's a nice article about how to do that. Okay, it's going to be different. What we're going to do is different because we actually have real authentication. He just kind of did a mock-up of a fake auth right here. But basically, we want to be able to do this. If we want a private route, we want to use the private route component, and we still want to be able to pass in a path and component, just like if it were a regular route. Okay. So down here you can see this is his example of the component. It's a functional based component. It gets passed in any properties. We're going to be passing in our auth property as well. We have the REST with the spread operator. This just basically means any other properties that are passed in will be passed in, and they'll be added here. Let's see. And then we're basically just going to do some logic. We're going to check to see if the user is authenticated. Yeah, so if you want to look through this and read through, what he had to say about each step here, you can do that. But we're going to go ahead and do something very similar. Okay, so let's open up our VS Code, and we're going to create a new component in the common folder. Okay, I think that is probably the best place to put this. So we're going to call this private route.js. All right, so let's make this a functional component. We'll say RFC tab. We're going to import React. We're going to import some stuff from the router. So we want to bring in route. We also want to bring in redirect. Okay, and this is going to be from the React router DOM. All right, and under that, we are going to be using Redux because we need to find out if the user is actually authenticated or not. So that means that we need connect. So we'll bring in connect, and that's going to be from the React Redux library. You guys know that by now. And then let's also bring in prop types. Okay, so down here, let's get rid of the export default, and we're going to say const private route equals a function, and down here let's be sure to export, and we're using connect, so we want to export connect, and here we'll pass in our private route. And let's see, we're going to have map state to props, which we have to create. This should actually be export default. Okay, so right here we'll say const map state to props, pass in our state, and we want the auth, which comes from state.auth. All right, and we'll create our prop types. So we just have in here auth, which is an object, is required. All right. So for the logic, we need to have some properties passed in. We're going to put in some curly braces here and say component, which will be a component. We also want our auth passed in, and then the rest of the properties. So we're going to use the spread operator and rest. And then in here, let's see, what we're going to do is we're going to get rid of the return and the curly braces, and we're just going to put a set of parentheses here, and then inside here we're going to say route, okay, just like we would in app.js when we created a route. And to add any props that are passed to that, we just want to use our rest, so our spread operator and rest. And we have a bunch of other stuff to put in here as well. So what I'm going to do is put this on a separate line and go to the next line, and we're going to have render, and we're going to say equals props, and then we're going to use an arrow. And on the next line, we're going to put in here auth. Now, this is from our auth state, so we're going to say is authenticated. All right, this is going to be a conditional. We're going to say auth is authenticated. If that's equal to true, that means we're logged in. So what we want to do here is we want to return we want to say component, and we want to pass in the spread operator with props. All right, else, so we're using a ternary operator, so else is going to be our colon. That, whoops, this should be parentheses. So else we want to redirect. Okay, so we want to redirect to login. Okay, /login. So basically all it's doing here is checking to see if we're authenticated. If it is, it'll go ahead and load the component. If it's not, it's going to redirect us to login. All right, so that's the logic here. And I think that's it. I think that should do it. So let's go ahead and save this file. Make sure we have no weird errors or anything. All right. And then what we need to do is go back to app.js, and we're going to bring this in. Let's bring this in right here. So we'll say import private route from /components/ and then we want common, and then we want private route. So we'll bring that in, and then down here where we have our routes, the dashboard is actually one that we want to be a private route. So we're going to change this. Instead of route, we're going to say private route. We're still going to pass in exact, we're still going to pass in our path, and we're still going to pass in our components. So everything else is going to be the same, except now we're using private route. All right, now we're going to have an issue with redirect unless we bring in from the React router switch. Okay, so we want to bring in switch, and for every private route we just need to wrap it in switch. Okay, so we want to go like that, and that's going to prevent some strange redirection issues and so on. So let's save this, and we should be able to, it should work now. So let's go back, and let's see, we're not logged in, so let's try to go to /dashboard, and it brings us right back to login, which is what we want. So let's log in. We'll say john@gmail, and now we're at our dashboard, so now we can access it. Okay, now if I log out, remember what happened before, it logged out, profile went to null in our state, and it just gave us the spinner, it just kept spinning. So now it should redirect us. So let's hit log out, and there we go. And that's what the switch allows us to do. It allows us to actually redirect when we log out. If we don't put that in there, it's just going to stay on that page. Okay, so hopefully that makes sense. It's not that difficult. I just wish that there was just a simple flag you could throw in your route to make it private, but you know, maybe sometime in the future, I don't know. But that's what we're going to do for now as far as private routes go. All right, so that's it, guys. I will see you in the next video.